Hey there, good morning, good evening, good afternoon. This is Talking to Myself, the part of the day where I talk to myself about things that I was thinking the night before. Shout out, of course, to all 700 plus people subscribed at the time of making this video, as well as Saratoga Peanut Butter, Lotus Flame Candle Company. Big shout out to the Kings of Leon who are touring again, and I'll be able to see them for the first time in maybe 6 years or something like that. Los Angeles Dodgers for cooking up again. Shout out to the Los Angeles Lakers off season, which hopefully we'll see Kyle Kuzma pushed out. I want to remind everyone that regardless of what you think, Lonzo Ball, Brandon Ingram would have done better for the Lakers this year, as well as Josh Hart. But the biggest thing is Los Angeles Lakers passed up on trades with Kawhi Leonard, Anthony Davis, and Jaylen Brown, which would have given up less capital. The Jaylen Brown was a straight up trade. And all they had to do was include Kyle Kuzma. So just a reminder that Jeannie Buss and Rob Pelinka chose their feelings about Kyle Kuzma personally over the actual talent base of Brandon Ingram and Lonzo Ball and what they brought to the table. So other than that, everything's fantastic. So I've got some stuff. Big shout out to Dorian Coleman, who is Lord Beerus in disguise. I can't wait to have you on, man. I've just been very, very busy with 9 to 5 work and then getting these new jobs, just signing a contract to do digital media, not only marketing, but consulting for 2 companies in New Mexico. And so shout out to, those avenues, but shout out to Dorian Coleman, fantastic photographer, amazing YouTuber, and someone who, the guy's just hilarious. So represent Cleveland. I'm right there with you. You got to show Cleveland what's up. So I've got some stuff laid out here in front of me. Hopefully this does really well with the focusing and everything. I don't, honestly, I forgot to even check my settings and everything whenever I started recording. So I got some stuff laid out. I'm just going to talk about the accessories that I actually use. I know that people can, because I've got a lot more stuff for like photography, videography, things like that, but these are things that I actually use in the everyday scheme of things in work. Of course, I use my X Pro 3 and my 35 1.4, which are up on my tripod right now from KF Concept that I've had for about 5 years. It's a fantastic tripod. It works every single time. It's got a nice ball head. It was only $70. You don't need a $300 tripod to do great things. I want to remind everyone, just because something is built better and you believe it'll last longer because of that does not mean that it's worth the price that you're buying it at. I understand, like, oh, you know what? I need a tripod that's going to be put to the work and blah. Well, do you? Because if you're only doing like 10 jobs a year, do you really need a tripod to really do all these amazing things? Do you do landscape photography? And if you do you really need a lot of it, you guys really need to start thinking and things in the way of how much does something weigh? And that may push you towards carbon fiber, but is there that much of a difference? And the biggest thing that you really need to take into account of, what gear could I purchase that I'll actually need more often than a tripod if I was to save a little money and buy something else on this tripod? So that's just for anyone basically. And once again I hope this is working pretty well. It sounds like the motors are going, but I'm sure this is in focus. I don't really know if there's any issue whatsoever, but yeah, these are basically the things that I have. So of course my X Pro 3, my 35 1.4, that is the big that's the duo right there. That is the lens and camera combination that I love. I'm looking at right now getting either an XH1, which would be fantastic. That's what I'm leaning more towards for the price and everything, with the battery grip, because I'm gonna have to do some more videography stuff, but also just because I'm getting hired to potentially do some documentary work, like as in stuff that we want to get put out on some on media avenues other than YouTube, but actually television, hunting channel, cowboy channel, things like that. So that's why I'm leaning in that regard. If that gets a go, the C100 Mark II, because the files are easy to use. It's 4K downscaled to 1080, and I'll just upscale to 4K if I need to. And besides, you guys, I'm just telling you right now, none of you know the difference between 4K and 1080 whenever it comes to downscaled 4K, 1080, upscaled to 4K resolution. You won't be able to tell the difference. Trust me. For the past few months, actually, on the X Pro 3, I've been going between 4K and between 1080, and none of you guys have mentioned anything, and because you cannot tell, and I will not tell you which episodes or which videos they are, but if you guys can go through and guess which episodes and videos or whatever are 4K, and you can get 2 of them right, I'll give you I'll buy you something. By the way, there's also a couple things that I'm gonna be doing for the chicken sandwich, and also for the basically I'm gonna be giving the film and chicken sandwich stuff away. I think I already know who's gonna get the film because he's the only one that mentioned it. So shout out to you know who you are, Jason. So yeah, but anyway, so these are things that I use daily basis. Of course, 35 1.4 and the X Pro 3, that's what I use. Photography, videography right now. I've actually done a couple videos, especially for real estate, one talking head, whenever it comes to an announcement for an event with that camera, or with that camera and that lens setup. 28 f2 is the other thing. You guys know I love this lens. I love this over 16mm 1.4. Actually, whenever I first got my hands on this camera or this lens right here, I ended up selling my 16 1.4 because I didn't see any other reason. 28mm focal length is great for documentary work. This is a B-roll lens that I use quite often, as well as this is a lens that I use more when I'm traveling and going out and about. This is the one right here. The one that I use for portraits that a lot of people may think is kind of crazy, considering that you know, the 35 1.4 is amazing, but whenever I want to get some really nice compression and background, I use the TT Artisans 50mm 1.2. This is a fantastic lens, heavy ass lens, but I usually stop it down to about 1.8, and this thing is amazing. Even whenever I'm shooting at 1.2, I'm able to actually get focus because of the prism focusing system on the X Pro 3. This is a great lens for portraits as well as B-roll also, but I hardly use this for B-roll. This is more for a portrait photo. I love the compression it has and the weird quirky bokeh. Whenever I go and I do photos, especially for engagements or for graduations, I always tell them bring the ring, and for graduates I always tell them bring your class ring as well as a tassel and everything, and I take shots of the details. And for that I use this Fujifilm MCEX16. You may think, oh, that's $100, I can get them cheaper for XYZ at this place. You can do that, but I got this from mpb.com for actually $45 in excellent condition. So yeah, you can go and you can purchase, you know, these Mikey tubes that are not autofocus, but this is autofocus. This is a great extension tube. I use this for, like I said, detail work all the time whenever I'm doing class rings or the tassel, or you know, just I put those photos into a collage so that people can, you know, whenever I print out photos, I put those into a 4-frame collage for people like that. And as well as this is great for details whenever it comes to engagements, weddings, getting the ring, ties, getting textures. Details are a great thing to get no matter what you're shooting. Get details of the shirts, of the wedding rings, of the bands, of necklaces and things like that. Reason being is because that helps people really push in further to those, especially if they're keepsakes. Maybe a loved one got it for them, like a ring, something that means a lot to them, or the graduation ring. Keepsakes are great with this MCEX16 from Fujifilm. Like I said, I got it pretty cheap. I usually always have this on my Fujifilm camera. I just took it off for this video, but this right here is my Kaza leather case. Again, I'm telling you guys, this thing is fantastic. Adds a little bit extra grip, feels good, feels bulky in the hand. I really like it. Smells great. It's getting a nice patina, or however you say it, patina, whatever. This is a major go for me. And then, you know, it just it puts you in the vibe. I think people always really complimentary of this. They always want to then ask about the camera. Usually I tell them don't worry about it. You've seen me just grab this. It's a little blower. It's a short guy. I don't need the big long dude. This one's smaller. This is from the brand Paragear. And so little air blower right here. You see things like this and you think like, oh, you know, people just talk or they don't really use that. You really do use this all the time. I mean, I'm constantly blowing things out. I'm cleaning out and blowing out the caps, the back caps and things like that. This is just a major go. This is something that I just think you really need. ND filter, all of my lenses are a 52mm filter thread, and so I have an ND filter. This one right here is from Tiffin. It's a black pro mist, neutral density 0.9. I also, on my 50mm right now, I have a black pro mist. Man, sun's coming out, so I'm about to get a lot of flare in the background, so I'm sorry to everyone if you're disappointed in that. But this black pro mist right here, or a black pro mist filter, is also on the lens, and I always bring those. Those are my two filters. That's it. I don't need anything else. I don't buy multiple filters for each one. I have the one so I can just take time to screw and unscrew. You don't have to worry about it. Whenever I'm doing things to where I need you know, to be a little bit still, usually whenever I'm taking photos of people, you know, in darker surroundings or areas and things like that, and I just really want the subject to be lit well, and there to be as little gray in the dark shadowy areas as possible. There is not a wireless remote trigger from Fujifilm, but I use this. This is also great for self-portraits and for family portraits, but it's the JJC JM11 receiver. This thing's badass, man, because it just works. It just works. You plug this in, it comes with this cable, you plug it into that 2.5 millimeter jack, which is also the control. Plugs into one side, the other. It has a cold shoe mount. You put that on. This also, I've strapped this up another way if I'm using a flash as well, so I can have my Godox flash trigger. But it comes with this little remote right here. Little remote has the antenna. This is nice and cute right here, man. It comes in a 3 photo mode, so a photo burst. It comes in a time photo mode where it's 10-second timer, and then it has a single photo mode, so you just click away and go for it. It works well with the flash, works with everything. It's never had an issue. It always does what it's supposed to do. It's fantastic. The strap that I always carry, and I usually just wrap this around my wrist. I hardly ever have it around my neck. This is a strap. I'm not sure where it's from. My fiance got it, but you guys understand these rope straps and where they come from. This is not for me to be hipster or vintage. This is because this strap is so short. What I like to do is I put it around my camera, and then I do this, and I just wrap it around my wrist, and then that's how I'm holding on. So it doesn't do with being hipster. The Peak Design Leash is one that I also use as well, but I don't like honestly, I just don't like those quick release whatever they are, the little clips. I don't like to hear those dangling, so I actually removed that. So I don't have that. You know, if you want a Peak Design, you know, leash, just let me know. I use it on my fiance's X100T, but you know, X100T is not really getting any love right now. Also on these, I do this with every one of them. I put the smallest possible little hoop rings basically on my camera, and I buy S-beaners, these mini S-beaners, and this is what I use to clip on. That way it comes on and off. That's my quick release system. I always carry with me gaffer's tape. This is I think it's a 1-inch gaffer's tape. That's it. No 2-inch, 1-inch. I can tape stuff to anything. I can tape back people's, you know, the gaffer's tape comes in handy. You really don't understand what gaffer's tape and binder clamps, which I didn't put up here, can do in a photo shoot, can do in a video shoot. This is a big deal, always with gaffer's tape. Whenever it comes to shooting photos, my trigger is this Godox trigger right here. I've got 2 flashes, but I'll only show you one today because they're identical, and this one is the only one that is really relevant. This is the X Pro F flash. This is the X Pro F trigger for the Godox system, which also works with Flashpoint. Really, really good. Everything's plain and simple to see right here. It's got a nice LCD screen. Nothing else really special about it. That's all it does. It does what it's supposed to do. A lot of the stuff that you see that I have, it does what it's supposed to do. I don't do anything special. I don't need to buy anything special. Like, get the shit that does what it's supposed to do, okay? Don't buy the shit because it's bells and whistles, all right? Like, listen, I buy Peak Design products way too fucking much. I get that. But I get it because it does what it's supposed to do, and I don't have to worry about it. That's how you should be shopping. My flash is a Godox TT600, and on top of it, I have the MagSphere. I believe it's MagSphere or MagMod, whatever it is. MagMod, MagSphere. This is a great MagMod. This is a great diffusion filter, or diffusion, whatever it is. On top, I'm telling you right now, this thing is pristine. This thing is fantastic. This gives you the nicest, softest flash everywhere. This is a must-have if you're doing weddings, portraits, anything. This is a flash you have to have. Just make sure places allow you to have a flash. I didn't get to use that last time I went out, but that is fantastic. Another thing is, I have this right here. It's the Fujifilm EFX8. If I'm with family or somewhere where I know I'm gonna need flash and I just want to bring one, I don't bring that. I bring this little guy, and I bought this little one from a company called Nest. This little diffusion filter. It doesn't do too well it doesn't make too big of a difference, but there is a subtle difference in the softness of people's faces. But the biggest thing is I've noticed without this flash, without this little mod right here on, the flash is usually cold. With this on, it's warm, and it does really, really well because 90% of the areas that I'm in, I kind of need a warmer flash, and this does a really good job because the flash is warm. It's never a cool flash. I never have any difference whenever it comes with lights. That's the benefit of this. That's why I keep it on there. So that's basically what I use for photography. For videography, I have this mic, I have the Zoom HN1. I use those quite a bit. The biggest thing is the Tascam DR10L. This is my lapel pack of choice. This is my lavalier that comes with it. It's the one that came from Tascam. I had one that broke, but this one is actually good. I ordered it. It works so well. The reason why I reordered this same generic Tascam mic is the simple fact that it is a very, 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 very flat mic. So I know whenever I'm putting it on someone, it's going to be around the chest. I know what I'm getting. I know exactly what I have to work with. Again, very flat mic. You guys, when it comes to audio, knowing what your mic does is very, very beneficial. And sticking with a mic or mics that sound similar to something you're working with across the board just helps your workflow so much. So again, Tascam DR10L has never failed me. It's a fantastic pack, has great battery life, has great recording codecs. It is, you can't record 2 channels, but you can test it, listen to it. It's not one that that sends directly you know, to your camera, but I don't record into my camera. I record straight to this, and if I need to, I have the Zoom HN1 to do, you know, handheld to be able to do for like interviews. But I use this for shotgun before, but mostly this is for just inputting into there. Final thing is, you know, so I have a light right here, and I always use the same bulbs. I have these Godox, I have this Godox flash softbox, a regular light stand, and then I have a nice little bulb. I've also got a really, really bright, I got a couple bright bulbs that I use for lighting and things like that, some gels. Nothing really special about that, but for key light and stuff, what I use sometimes, and you guys may think it's pretty lame, but this little aperture, whenever I'm out and about working at stuff. Oh, let me see where I put it at. Did I already touch it? Yeah, that's that small. I thought this wasn't it. This is the Aperture Amaran ALM9. This thing does pretty good. I can't say anything negative about this light. It does a good job, diffuses pretty well. You set it far back enough, it's going to be just fine. I've got a little homemade gel in the back of there. I can't say anything negative about this. This thing's fantastic. It does what it's supposed to do. This is great for being off somewhere. I like to put it on stuff to help backlight a wall, rim light someone on the hair. That's basically all that I do. This is the gear that I use all the time. I have more gear, I have more things, but you know, I have an iPad. I've got, you know, like a, you know, way to import footage and audio or whatever into that, you know, but this is the gear that I use. I think when you keep things very basic, and you may be thinking, oh, you know what, this isn't that little gear. It really is. Think about it. I have my camera, and if I'm doing something with flashes, I've got a flash box, I've got this, or I've got a softbox, I've got this. You know, it's a very simple setup. I've only got 2 flashes, and I've got a trigger. So that's my 2-point lighting, as well as I use a bounce card if I want to use 3-point lighting. So not really that much. I've got a remote trigger, an ND filter, gaffer's tape that it doesn't have to always be used. I mean, this right here is just cosmetic stuff. I don't use this the same time I use this. You know, a little backlight for videography, a little rim light. I've got recorders, videography, and then literally just lenses. And I brought these out because these are my 2 film cameras. This is my XA2 from Olympus. This is my Nikon Light Touch AF. This is what I usually carry majority of the time, unless I can't find it, or I just want something that's going to be a little bit quieter. Then I use the XA2, but I hardly ever have any time where I want to use the XA2 over the 28mm focal length of the AF. No offense to the XA2, but it is what it is. So but yeah, I mean, this is what I have. That's it. This is what I have. Like I said, I've got more, but it's just, you know, I've got sliders and things like that for real estate and certain things. But I mean, that is a niche kind of thing. Everything that I need is right here. I don't need much else. I don't need anything else. And honestly, I don't feel like anyone needs much else. I don't have a NAR box. I don't use that. I used to have a Western Digital, my Passport wireless, but I don't use that. You know, I used to have all these, you know, fancy things, battery grips on the X you know, E3 or XT3. You know, I used to have the extra lenses and all these, you know, different lens setup and the different filters and the step up and step down rings. And I used to have the the gold mist filters, and I used to, you know, have these extra lightings, these honeycomb lighting, LED panels, 3 flashes. I used to have, you know, I mean, all this stuff. And you know, the longer you work in a business and you try stuff and you work with stuff, you realize you kind of don't need all the stuff that maybe you were hyped up about. You just bought it because you wanted to buy it. So that's basically it for the video, man. That's all that I wanted to discuss and show you guys. I've had some people ask like, hey, what gear do you use? Should I buy this, this, and this? And I tell them no. Or sure, I mean, if you're going to use it. But a lot of this stuff is not, none of this stuff is the most expensive thing. period. None of this stuff is top of the line. You know, maybe I guess Tiffin's the top of the line filter. I have no idea. I got JJC. I have Godox instead of, you know, the Fujifilm branded stuff. I've, you know, got a Fuji lens. I've got a third-party Chinese lens. You know, I've got third-party grip. You know, I've got a Tascam, you know, pack instead of the Sennheiser setup, or the Rode wireless, which I did have and I sold because I didn't really need it. You know, I have a cheap TAKSTAR $20 mic. If I can do this stuff and you guys are crazy enough to subscribe to me and think that I'm doing well, what is there to say that you can't do the exact same thing? And that's the thing, is you can do the exact same thing with what you have right now. You don't even need half of the stuff, but if you have any of the stuff that I just showed you right now, you have more than enough needed to create. You have to always think about that. You have to always be aware of that. This weekend, I'm going to New Mexico to go do headshots for this company, as well as to talk to them about how they're going to set up things for their digital media creation station is what I'll call it, because I can't think of their little studio. And you know what I'm bringing? This. And that's it. Because I don't need much else. And I don't think you need much else either. You know, basic is clean. Clean is good, you know. And with all this stuff, you may think, oh, you know, these lenses are clunky, or this is blah, blah, blah. You know what? Slow is smooth and smooth is fast, man. So I get shit done real quick. I'm on to the next client, on to the next contract. That's just what it is, baby. So, yeah, this is all. I hope you guys enjoy this. You know, it's usually not the thing that I do whenever I'm talking to myself, but this is what it is. So have a good one.